What's up? We are back. Welcome to the Unofficial Pre Fight Show. This coming up weekend, we have Alexander Volkov versus Rozenstruik. Let's go. In the main event this weekend, we have two top 10 heavyweights facing off when Alexander Volkov takes on Rozenstruik, two of the more decorated strikers in the heavyweight division. Combined, these guys have about 33 KOs or technical knockouts within their professional careers. And it's no surprise that I predict this fight will primarily take place on the feet. And, it was interesting to see. When I looked at the tail of the tape, Volkov only had a 2-inch reach advantage over Rozenstruik. Volkov's 6'7", Rozenstruik is 6'2". I just assumed there would be a much bigger reach advantage, or a much more significant reach advantage that Volkov would have. But turns out that's not really the case. Now, Volkov's path to victory in this fight, I think, is going to be to use his range, use his kicks. I would assume that the fact that he has only a 2-inch arm reach advantage over Rozenstruik, he's going to have much longer legs, he's got great kicks, and he's going to have to keep Rozenstruik at bay. Mix up his punches and kicks, not let him close the distance, and get in punching range where he can land those power shots. For Rozenstruik, on the other hand, it's going to be to fight aggressively, always move forward, close the distance to land those power shots consistently, and turn this into a bit of a brawl. It's definitely going to be the path to victory for Rozenstruik. I went back and forth on this one a little bit, and something that I think really gets overlooked with Rozenstruik is the fact that he has a kickboxing record of 76-6. People just kind of see him as this crazy brawler who goes in there and knocks guys out, which is true, but the guy's got a ton of kickboxing experience, and yes, MMA is a totally different sport, I get that, but I think that kickboxing experience is really going to play a factor in this bout. So I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm picking Rozenstruik to get the win. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes later in the fight. It's a 5-round main event scrap. I could see Volkov having success for the first few rounds, but I do see Rozenstruik eventually catching him with a power shot and ending the night. So Rozenstruik is the pick on this. We have a featherweight bout between Dan Ige and the undefeated prospect, Movsar Evloev. Dan Ige finds himself on a 2-fight losing streak. He's gone 1-3 in his last 4, and he's looking to get back in the win column and get that momentum back that he once had when he won 6 fights straight in the UFC between 2018 and 2020. Movsar, on the other hand, as mentioned, an undefeated fighter, 15-0 professional MMA career, 4-0 in the UFC. And although he's undefeated, he has come close to losing in a couple of his fights in the UFC. He squeaked out a close decision in one of his bouts. He almost got caught in a submission in another. So he's had some adversity, but has been able to get his hand raised every time he's walked into the cage. And I think Dan Ige will definitely be Movsar's toughest fight to date. And Dan Ige comes into this bout as a heavy underdog. He's coming in as a plus 300. To be honest, I wouldn't be shocked if Ige actually pulled off the upset victory. That being said, though, I am going to go with Movsar in this fight. I've been pretty impressed with this guy. He's a very well-rounded fighter. I think his ability to mix up the striking and grappling and consistently threat with that takedown, and when he gets that takedown, control Ige on the ground will be his path to victory. I've also been impressed how he's been able to kind of stay calm and collected when things haven't gone his way in fights, and stay calm in submissions and ultimately get out of those submission attempts. And there's something to be said about the confidence and self-belief of an undefeated fighter. It definitely can play a factor in a fight, and I think Movsar has that, and truly believes that he can continue to kind of just go up the ranks in the UFC and stay undefeated and one day potentially become champ. So Movsar Evloev is the pick, but be cautious on this one. I think Dan Ige is a live dog. Next fight we're going to review is a featherweight fight between Mike Trizano and UFC newcomer Lucas Almeida. Lucas Almeida, you might remember him from Dana White's Contender Series last year. We're actually fought at lightweight. From what I can tell, this is his featherweight debut, so he'll be dropping down in weight for the first time to fight Trizano on Saturday. And after reviewing that fight on the Contender Series last year, Almeida starts off very aggressively, throws a ton of power shots, a little bit reckless, moves forward constantly, but does tend to fade as the fight goes on. And he ended up losing that fight on the Contender Series via decision. It's actually his only loss within his professional career. I believe he's 13-1. And Mike Trizano, on the other hand, is a a Ultimate Fighter alumni. He actually won the Ultimate Fighter Season 27, has 5 fights officially in the UFC, has gone 3-2 in the UFC, and is a tough, well-rounded MMA fighter. I mean, he's never going to be a ranked featherweight in my opinion, but he's good and he can hang in there with most guys at featherweight. Looking at this bout between these two guys, I am going to go with Mike Trizano. I think he's just overall a much more well-rounded fighter. He's got a higher fight IQ as well. And I see him getting the victory this weekend. The only chance I would give Almeida is if he maybe catches Trizano with something early in the fight, because he comes out so aggressively and throws so many power shots in round 1. But if that doesn't happen, I see Trizano getting the victory, and I honestly don't think it will happen. So Mike Trizano is the last bout we're going to review on today's show is a light heavyweight fight between Alonzo Menifield and Askar Mazarov. Menifield is a 7-fight veteran within the UFC. He's gone 4-3 within the organization, and I feel like the guy's just never really found his stride. He's got a ton of power, he's very athletic, but just lacks that consistency and always seems to fall short against the more talented fighters in the division. Mazarov, on the other hand, is making his UFC debut, and from what I've seen of the guy, he's an aggressive power striker. He's got 13 KOs or technical knockouts within his career, and comes out with that killer be killed mentality right from the jump. In fact, his last 3 wins are all coming within the first round. So I do give Mazarov a chance to potentially finish this fight early, just because he comes out so aggressively and could catch Alonzo Menifield and potentially end this fight in the first round like he has his last 3. But looking at this fight stylistically, I am going to go with Alonzo Menifield. I think that overall he's a much more well-rounded fighter. He's got that UFC experience, which we all know is real, it counts, and you just can't get in any other organization. I also just think that his fight IQ is a little better than Askar Mazarov, who seems to be a little bit reckless in there. So we're going to go with Alonzo Menifield, but this should be a fun fight, and I'm predicting this not to go the distance, as combined these guys have 29 finishes within their MMA careers. So should be a fun one to watch. That is it for this episode of the Unofficial Pre Fight Show. Enjoy the fights this weekend. We'll see you next week.